Good evening. Welcome to the fallout of. I nearly forgot the name of the pay per view then. Thankfully, it came back into my brain. War Games. So, tonight we have a completely new person. We like to do this. In the last few videos, we've had introducing someone new each time. So, I like this. I don't think it can carry on for very much longer. There's not many more wrestling fans in the world, to be fair. So, we've not got much of a. But there we go. Anyway, Posh, how you doing?
Not many wrestling fans that are available anyway. Yeah, no, I'm doing fantastic. Hello, or should I say good evening? I think a few footy fans watching this might enjoy that reference. But yeah, I'm doing very good, thank you. And yeah, what a night it was last night regarding a phenomenal return. Obviously, I'm talking about R-Truth. And yeah, I'm doing great.
Cool. It's good to have you. And as always, Kyle, how you doing?
I'm all right, Shan. How are you?
Yes. All good. So before we go into that amazing return of R-Truth, as we know why, that's why everyone's here tonight. They're just waiting for a good hour for us to talk about just R-Truth on repeat for an hour and all the greatest moments he's had in his time as a wrestler. We fooled you completely. It's not a War Games Fallout show. It's just a show about a bit of R-Truth loving. So there we are. No, actually, the real reason we're here is War Games. Obviously, it was last night. Last night? Yeah, last night. At too late in the evening for my sleeping schedule, as I had an event the night before that I hosted, and I still feel a little bit ill. So less said about the better. Okay. So
Crisps wins.
He's referencing the scene where R-Truth returned, I think, in that weird little cutscene that happened. That's what he's referencing. Well, yeah.
See,
I'm an Englishman, so crisps.
See, he always does this. Lee's got a knack of doing all the references, like making it completely unrelated to the wrestling to anybody else other than real wrestling fans, fooling me in the process until then Posh has to explain then what's going on. It's always the case.
It's what makes us tick on Gooner Gathering.
I'm going to go straight into the first match, which was the War Games, the women's War Games match. As always, I'm going to go start with Carl, because obviously this was the first time that you had witnessed War Games, I believe. After my glowing review of saying that it's my favourite match type in WWE, and that you're going to really enjoy it because it's just mayhem. Like, you could literally put... Somehow, I even think if you put non-wrestlers into the two rings of War Games, it would still be mayhem somehow. It's just the whole match type. So I'm going to go to you, Carl. What did you think of that first match, having seen the War Games for the first time?
Well, I actually missed that match, but I have gone back and watched some highlights.
That's good.
It's the only one I watched live, so funnily enough.
It was actually really good. I was impressed. A spot that I really remember was, I don't know if you've seen it, but Charlotte hit a moonsault off the top of the cage, and she actually kneed one of the girls. I can't remember which one it was, but one of the girls on the way down, and it looked pretty bad. It was quite memorable, to be honest. But yeah, other than that, I thought it was good. I love the fact that they bring the weapons into it again. You know, I love matches like that. I'm a hardcore guy. Yeah, I love it.
I just wish, the only thing that really frustrates me now is, I don't know what it is with WWE. They just don't dare do anything other than the normal weapons. This is what frustrates me. Like, this is where we go into comparison with AEW. They just do anything and everything. But WWE, it seems to be just a mix of fire extinguisher. That's like the big one. That's the one that you don't see very often. The trash can that you see all the time, the chair and the table, and that's it. Maybe a kendo stick now and again. Like that, but that's as far as it goes. They could just really be. They could push the boat out. They don't like to do this, but they could really push the boat out. And they kept more weapons. Like, even if I don't know what it could be. It could be anything, but it would be better, because the thing is, I think for me in WWE, the weapons have become like they've kind of diminished a little bit, because they're just always the same. Like, there's only so many times you can see someone go through a table or be hit by a chair and get excited by it. Whereas in AEW, when that happens, it's still quite exciting, because you know that it's something different. But yeah, I went off track there. Just a little bit of WWE bashing, as it's all about WWE. So,
always. I'm here for it.
So there we are. So yeah, Posh, I'm going to go to you next. Any other thoughts on the first match?
I think my favourite spot was when Io Sky, I think it was, who went on top of the cage dressed as a bin. Well, I said he just put on the bin, as a bin. And yeah, exactly. Guna Gathering said it, and Sam will like this. I was so tempted to tweet the photo of, you know, her as a bin going down, and I was going, by God, it's Eddie and Nketiah on the top of the cage.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I think yeah, that was my favorite spot, and I think it was not the first time I think she's done that. That happened. Was it in an NXT show? I think it during the pandemic era. I think.
It's the thing is, when you reference NXT, it's great because nobody really watches it, so it's completely different new. But yeah, you've just stolen my both of you had just read my notes like on my phone and stolen my 2 moments that I was going to speak about. I think
minds think alike.
Here we go. I think I've got a pick of the moment just before we move on. Is this the moment we're talking about?
There it is.
It is. It's funny how all of them. I wish you could take away. Like, I wish we could have edited it and just taken away the picture of the bin and Io Sky, and then just like had everyone all in tandem with 5 people up their hands up in the air, and then just put a picture of Gabrielle Jesus at the top.
I hate being surrounded by gooners, man. United.
Been warned.
Oh yeah, by the way, boys, I'm actually missing the United game for this, so everyone better be appreciative of that.
Garnacho's goal was unreal.
I have heard, yeah, and I missed it.
So I am just posting it to my Instagram at the same time. So they were the 2 best spots. I just think with a War Games match, it just it's got a real knack at making every single wrestler in the match look really good. They don't have to do much in the match, but everyone comes off of it like looking unbelievable. I don't know why that is. Like, in most other matches, in pretty much every other match type, to be fair, if you wrestle bad, you wrestle bad. Like, there's no kind of in between. But yeah, it's just this thing with War Games. They come and see. I'm just so professional that I do the same things at 2 times. I can promote and host. So that's the thing. That's why I really like War Games. I just think it's like unlike any other sort of match as well. There's nothing like it. And I went back into, because they did actually reference it in the men's War Games, but I've just recently got the DVD of the WCW War Games, and before each match on the DVD, there's sort of like something towards like who made the War Games matches, like something around it. I've obviously only watched the start of it because it's really annoying when WWE on DVDs or on the network have the old matches and stuff. They do it on like half a screen, and then they put
with the strips down the side. Yeah, I know what you mean. I get it when I'm editing the videos.
And it's so frustrating because you just want to see the match, and it actually puts you off from watching matches because you just get really annoyed by the strips at the side of the TV. Like, I actually physically struggle to watch the match. I have to literally sit there and go, all right, you can't turn it off. You must watch it. Yeah.
Like that.
I think I'm 2 strips of paper and just tape them to like my face. So I can only just see like to be able to watch them. But yeah, so before I went off tangent, it was Dusty Rhodes that created the match. And at the time in wrestling, it was very like by the book, because anything that they did in terms of different match types, they would take them forever to set up. It would take them like weeks, because like when they put the steel cage up, all the steel was so heavy and stuff. There's not like the steel that we have now where they can have like steel that's not steel, or so they had to physically do it, and sometimes it would take like ages for them to be done. So they had little like pretty much the same match types, and it wasn't many deviants, unless it was like a really big pay-per-view. And when they posed over the idea to them, he said, I think I'm just going to put 2 rings together and put a cage around them both. And they was like, do you realize how long that will like take for us to do? Like, we'll have to plan this months in advance to be able to get the materials, to get the arena big enough to fit the 2 rings with the steel around it. And then we'll have to employ so many people to do it. But it was so bizarre and like such a like interesting match type that they had to do it. And that's all I can tell you in the history of War Games, because that's as far as I got on the DVD, because I got watched that first bit and I turned it off because I couldn't watch the match with the 2 strips down the side. So that's your little history lesson. That's the end of that, though. It was very short. But they did actually reference it in the men's War Games, actually.
When Cody came out.
Yeah, when Cody came out, which was a cool moment. Because you don't get much of that really on WWE. They just kind of tend to just commentate on what's going on. They don't tend to like give you any history or anything like that.
It was Cody's first War Games match as well, was it?
Yeah.
Was it first ever War Games match?
The reason why I said it as well, because people because if you didn't like go back and see that WCW had them and stuff, because it hasn't been a match type that's been used at all really, apart from WCW, and then I don't know if it's been used after because I haven't looked into it. But if it has, it's not very often. So like if you're a current wrestling fan that's only seen sort of the last like 5-10 years, NXT picked it up and started doing the pay-per-view. So you'll probably think that NXT made this whole stipulation up because it's not really publicized that you don't, unless you've got to go and kind of look at the history of things if you want to know things about it, because it's not kind of told to you in commentary or anything. But yeah, unless either of you got anything else to say on the match, then apart from it was mental when they were saying like, this is Io Sky's like 5th War Games. This is like every single one of the competitors in the women's War Games. I'm not sure about the men's.
I think it was actually Io Sky who got hit with the knee that I was talking about. I think it was her. I'm pretty sure.
But pretty sure everyone on like that Oscars side of the team, because most of them came up through NXT. Most of them had been in like 3 or 4 before, and then there was one, I can't remember who it was, but definitely one that had been in like 5 different War Games. It's crazy. But yeah. So the next match after that was, I think you went to a little spot first, and then
when the biggest return happened, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Ronald Killings.
So obviously he'll be fighting Roman Reigns and taking the championship off him before you know it.
Definitely.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yep, and he'll be replaced by his 24/7 belt.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the thing is, to go back on that a little bit, that was such a good idea, but WWE ruined that so much. That could have been such an amazing title that would have made pay-per-views and weekly shows like fun to watch. But they just did it so much and made it so gimmicky and so comical that they just ruined it. That was a great idea that they made themselves, but then also ruined themselves. Like it was really silly when I look back on that.
It could have been the modern day version of what the Hardcore Championship was in 2000.
Come and watch us on YouTube. All about wrestling. All. See, I normally do this before the shows.
Are you looking at what the second match was? Because I can tell.
No, it's not that. I'm making my post on Instagram to get more people to come and watch us.
Oh, okay.
So we're there now. So after that, we did get to. There was a little bit of a. Like I say, I didn't watch this match as a whole. I watched it after it, but there was a little bit of a back and forth between Miz and Gunther, I think, before the match, and then obviously in kicked that match. Again, I'm watching this after. It looked, from what I could see, a fairly good match. Majority of it was like classic kind of champion that's been champion for a long time / the Miz versus the Miz. Sort of the Miz was on top. Looks like he's going to win it. That's what WWE are great at. They're great at going, oh my God, he's going to lose his title. And then bang, next second.
It was a good near fall, wasn't there?
Yeah, I thought that was a good match, to be honest with you. That was an exciting one for me. I enjoyed that.
It looked it. Is there anything else you want to add? Because obviously, like I say, it's a bit tough for me because I didn't really see this one. I saw kind of bits.
Go on, Bertie. No worries.
No, there was a bit, and if Lee Meadows is still in the chat, he'll like this because he mentioned how Bret Hart is his favorite wrestler. There was a spot that Miz did, on
the post.
On the post, yeah.
Post, I love that.
Was what Bret Hart did. But yeah, that was a very good spot.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, just to quickly go back on the last match, I just took screenshots of like the top moments of each match, because often, like when you go and research matches, you because you're watching it, you don't tend to go you don't pick bits up sometimes. But I do remember this now. I'm reading it. Did you see when Bianca Belair used her hair and whipped the living hell out of Io Sky? I think it was. And just literally, you could just hear literally, there was no faking it. There was literally.
Yeah, it sounded bad.
Yeah, you hear the sound proper.
Yeah.
And that's when you realize, when people go, "Oh my God, wrestling's fake," but then you actually realize, things like that they actually do really still.
Yeah, it will hurt, of course. I was saying this to someone the other day who doesn't really watch wrestling or has never been into it. I was just saying, you can't fake the injuries, the things they do. Look at Jeff Hardy, that sort of style. It's just, you can't fake that. Do you know what I mean?
No, you can't. The people go, "Oh my God, it's fake." Yes, it is acting. Yes, they do go.
Obviously.
Yes, they go to wrestling school to learn how to take these falls. Yes, they go to wrestling schools to learn how to play things off like it's really hurt when it hasn't. But you've still got to do those things. It's impossible to do moves correctly 100% of the time, because sometimes you won't have the time to. I imagine before some matches, you can't recreate a match before it started. You can only talk about it. So the wrestlers will come together and they'll say, "Look, roughly here's what I want to do." Sorry, Lee.
No, it's not fake.
It's like when someone tells me Father Christmas is not real, and I go, "My God, I didn't know." You've ruined it for me completely now. But yeah, it's impossible. Obviously, going back to what I was saying, they can speak about it and say, "Look, here's what I want to do. I want to do this move now." then maybe it could be followed by this move, and then you do that. But it's impossible to recreate it before you do it. Else, you're not going to get the best you're not going to get the best match for the pay-per-view or for the show. Because if you do it before, to recreate it again, it's going to look fake because you're going on what you did before, and it will just look completely awful. So things do go wrong. Like things, as I was saying,
well, we've seen it. If you're a fan of wrestling, you've seen it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I was
we've
thinking
all
of
seen it.
As I said, things go wrong. I was thinking of the little advert we used to get before all the DVDs or all the shows where it said, what did it say? It's like, oh, all these things that you see are fake, but the people you see are real, or it's something like that, wasn't it? And it was like an advert that came on before the shows or the pay-per-views or on the DVDs. But yeah, so that was that. I'm just going to double check if there's anything else. There was also a cool bit, because normally there was a cool bit where I think Oscar tried to, obviously she does a thing where she the mist and that lot. She did that, but I think because she doesn't do it very, they're quite good at that because she doesn't do it very often. So when it does happen, it's not like, oh, here she goes again. Right, here she does it again. But I'm pretty sure she tried to do it twice. And then they came out of the way of it or something. So she did it. They came out of the way of it. They then and then they sprayed her with a fire extinguisher. I thought that was quite clever. So yeah, that was I think that was. And then I thought the hug between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair was a little bit, oh, here we go, because I'd have liked them to see, I think it'd have been great if they'd have just done a teammate going against teammate in War Games. I think that would have been a great angle, and then that would have set up a storyline for the next couple of weeks. But obviously, they don't do things like that. Back to where we were at. So we
can they coexist?
So we were on the Miz match, weren't we?
Yeah.
I don't know who last spoke and if they want to carry on because I did kind of jump in and go back.
I think we were talking about the sharpshooter spot on the post.
Oh yeah, we were.
Yeah, I'm just saying that was a good spot in the match. I thought the match was all right, I think, and even though it was going to be very predictable on who wins, I thought the match was still good. As Guna Gathering says in the chat, it is weird seeing The Miz as a face, especially considering it worked so well the last two times. And but yeah, it is weird seeing him as a face. I'm not exactly used to it, but who knows what will happen.
I think he shows it's great. I think he shows how good not only of a wrestler he is, but how good he is his promo work. So obviously he's done movies.
Oh, he's great promo.
He's amazing because I the version of Miz that I remember, when I was watching it in 2011 when it was him and Cena, and he used to play it off, and he used to actually you used to despise him. Everyone, there was not a single person that would like him at that time, and it's crazy how he can go from that to he's just he's just amazing. But yeah, that's that. I'm just going to go quickly over the notes. So we've picked up on that figure 4. Oh yeah, that was the other bit I wanted to mention. There was a cool spot. They don't do this very often either, where I think it was there was an exposed turnbuckle.
Yeah,
that was a really cool spot. And I thought that was when it was going to finish. I was like, surely they can't do this. But then it was finished by a finisher, wasn't it? Oh, here's an interesting one. Back to my WWE bashing. Commentary Corey Gray is covered up for an ugly top rope splash from the champ, claiming his injured knee would not allow him to execute it properly. So they covered up a botch by claiming an injury. Not like WWE at all, that one. There we
That's
are.
what Matthew Gregg would love, that Botchamania.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's picked up on that one. This is an interesting by Bleacher Report. So they've put that a few more minutes, and this may have been a classic, as both guys were just starting to cook. And I know what they're saying there, because I think towards the end of the match is when the exposed turnbuckle happened, and you're thinking, oh, this is going to end. And then it kind of went into like a bit of disarray, and then Gunther kind of locked that finisher in. Not what I'm on about. Locked the submission in, and Miz was going to go to the ropes, almost did, and then got pulled back. Yeah, I think they're probably right there. Like, I think that was when I first read it, I thought, no, that's not right, but actually, it could have been. So yeah, that's that match really. So next up was another one that I didn't see. How about this? Like, the guy that's hosting the show hasn't seen the whole pay-per-view. Shocking.
Sounds like me whenever I host Gooner Gathering videos and have come with no notes.
Yeah, Lee's the one with the notes. We'll leave Lee to the notes. I don't like doing notes. I did notes like I say for the two, like my favourite spots of the two War Games matches, but that's it. So yeah, the next one was it wasn't. It wasn't. I'm lying now. It was Santos Escobar and
Dragon Lee.
There
we go. That's the one I was looking for.
Not Gooner Lee's alter ego, by the way. That's
that is something I now will not be able to unsee now you've done that.
Dragon Lee Meads.
Yeah, I can just imagine him. That's the thing. I think we should do that on the end of season awards for Gooner Gathering. I think we should get him in a mask. So yeah, that was
El Gunio.
I'm sure he's watching because he's still commenting. He'll probably try and forget that, so he doesn't have to wear a mask. It's me in a mask. I don't think with your recent injuries, Lee, I don't think you could have wrestled like that. I'm afraid. I'd have loved to have seen it because we'd have got a backstage to the event. I'm sure you'd set up your broadcast colleagues. But yeah, this was the so that was the next match. Again, another one that I've so what I did to get the gist of the match, I think it's always good. Obviously, if you miss the first if you miss like 3/4 of the match, if you watch the end, you can kind of get the main bit anyway. So that's what I do. If I end up missing the match, I'll watch the end, and then when the replays come up, it'll obviously show you any bits then you missed that are worth knowing about. So that's what I did with this one. But I think I'm going to go back and watch this one because from the last sort of 5 minutes of the match that I saw, it looked like back and forth, sort of a lot of kind of moments that you go, wow, like actual technical wrestling. So I am going to go back and watch this one afterwards. I don't know if either one of you saw the match in full and can explain it a little better than I can.
I mean, I did, but it was kind of in the background. It kind of shows how much of a lapsed fan I've been recently, because I've not really been, paid much attention to what the story was with Santos Escobar recently. I know that he was part of the LWO with Rey Mysterio, and then he turned on him. I don't know how. So that's why I remember from that. And
see, you say lapse, but I know me and you spoke a little bit before. I don't tend to watch apart from when I started.
I keep tabs on things. I briefly check out what's going on, but I wouldn't say I'm like in depth.
These things with Carl. That's the only time I started watching like the weekly Raw and SmackDowns again. Like before I didn't watch Raw or SmackDown, and I used to just watch the pay-per-views because if you watch the pay-per-views, if you watch the segment before the match, it tells you what's happened over the last 3 or 4 weeks anyway. So that's what I tended to do. And then even then and still now, like when it's WWE pay-per-views, I will just watch the matches I want to watch, and the rest of it I'll just read a report on. Or before I was doing this, I wouldn't even read a report on. I would just not watch it, like, and be happy with that. Because I think me and Carlo spoke before, and when it's an AEW pay-per-view, I want to watch it all because I'm invested in each and every match, because the way that they do their stories, it invests you in like the storylines that you aren't even particularly bothered about. Whereas WWE, most of the stories are kind of hit and miss. Like they're kind of, sometimes you can be really excited by a story. You can go, oh my God, like I need to find out what happens. But most of the time, I think most people, even like the most hardcore WWE fans, would say the same. Like sometimes the storytelling's good, and then sometimes it's just really bad. Like there's no sort of in the middle. So no, I wouldn't say lapse at all. I would say, I would just say because there's so much wrestling, because there's so many different promotions, because there's so many different shows, like you do have to pick what you want to watch, because there isn't the time possible unless you watch wrestling 24/7. There isn't time possible to watch everything and take everything in.
There's isn't there like a show every day of the week now? Like,
pretty much.
Back in the day, it was just Raw and SmackDown. Remember, like
if you factor in all the promotions, if you factor in like Impact, if you factor in AEW, if you factor in New Japan, like there is like pretty much every single day, and most weekends there'll be a pay-per-view from one of the promotions. So yeah, it is physically impossible to watch it all. So yeah, I would just say, because you have to be like with anything, you can't watch every single movie that there is in the world, like, because that's impossible. The same like TV show, you can't read every single book. You have to be quite selective in what you watch, because there is that much of everything now. So yeah, I wouldn't say lapse at all. I would just say it is what it is. Kind of gone off topic there a little bit. Carl and both of you, anything else to kind of add? Because I did kind of stop you in your tracks.
I'm not gonna lie, I can't even remember what we were talking about.
We mentioned you were talking about Dragon Lee and Santos Escobar, and I mentioned how I didn't really know what the story was between those two, because I don't watch as much wrestling as I used to do religiously back in the day.
Well, I'm exactly the same. I'm in exactly the same boat.
I thought it was a decent match, and I do like the look of Santos Escobar. I think he's been, since that period where I did get back into wrestling, when Triple H fully took over creative, and then before Vince came back, obviously. But Santos Escobar was, he was turning into a next big star in a way, and I think they'll be in the next. I see big things for him. I think coming. I have a lot of high hopes for him, as long as Vincent Kennedy McMahon stays away from the creative control button. Then I think Santos Escobar will do well.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, is it? Like, I swear, even when Vince passes away, he'll still have some,
like a head in a jar. And
then he's going to do some like voodoo or something to stay in it. Like,
he'll still have some effect on WWE, even like 600 years after he's passed. Like, he'll still be creating storylines by some means. Like, he'll be the first person to like be able to live forever, I swear. But yeah, I think it was what people would have expected this match to sort of be, sort of some really good spots, sort of back and forth kind of technical wrestling spots. But yeah, like I say, I think I will go back and watch this one, because by the looks of it, it was sort of a really even match for most of it, because the last 5 minutes I watched, it could have gone either way. Next up was the women's title match. Rhea Ripley and Zoe Stark. Again, this is terrible. another one that I didn't see in full. This is a common theme for today.
Join the club.
Again, this is another one I didn't see, and I rely completely on Bleacher Report to give me like the main moments and kind of the overview of the match. Again, it's not really. I think we mentioned this the other day as well in the Tuesday show where we did like our weekly news update, sort of everything that's going on in wrestling, and they've had a real knack of making the women's division in WWE less and less important as sort of the months and years go on. Like they had that little push where they was doing the all women's pay-per-view, and like it was really exciting. You really invested in the storylines, and then it was almost like they completely forgot that they did that, and it's kind of been pushed to the back now, like it always used to be.
Yeah, it's like they thought, well, we've given them what they want now. We can just sit back and relax. You know, it's
pretty
like,
much. So again, this is another one that I wasn't really bothered about. Like the storyline, I don't know if there is one. I didn't even watch the 4 minutes before this one because I wasn't at all bothered about it. I was happy to just read about it after. And to say that a pay-per-view that doesn't have many matches other than 2 war games, I think to keep people interested from start to end, you've got to make that little segment in the middle really good. And say that was a title match. Again, I didn't watch it, so I don't know the ins and outs. But to say that's a title match, you're like, oh, well, I could miss that one. And that's probably like the opinion of most fans, apart from like someone that religiously watches every match and they've got to watch this bit, else they like that's the most avid of like WWE fans. But it's just not for me.
I mean, I knew who Zoe Stark was because she was like partnered with Trish Stratus, wasn't she, for a bit? During a returning stint in the company, in her feud with Becky Lynch, and Zoe Stark was mixed in there, and that's how I kind of knew who she was. And of course, I think she was part of NXT as well beforehand. And I again wasn't too overly familiar with Zoe Stark, but what I will say about Rhea Ripley is that in the Triple H era, I thought she's been a very good champion. From winning the Rumble onwards, I thought she's been one of the biggest stars in the company since Triple H took over, and then hasn't taken over, and then has gone back to taking over.
One of the ones that's like kept that division somewhat alive by creating the whole Judgment Day thing and crossing over to like the men's side with Judgment Day, then going back to a title in the women's. Like that's one of the ones. Take her out of the equation, and I don't think you've got many others that are carrying that kind of women's division, to be honest. Because Charlotte Flair's lost her appeal because she's been in WWE for so long. She's won that many titles that she can't do anymore. Any storylines that she has now, like they're just kind of the same as they've always been. So I don't think there's many names really in that women's division that keep that division alive. I think it's Rhea, and then that's the only one that comes to my head that sort of is the big draw, like for
Bianca.
WWE. Yeah, potentially.
In the women's division, that is.
Yeah, potentially, but like again, like it's not one that you get like you'd actually physically want to watch Rhea because of the character she has and the wrestling talent. Bianca is sort of I could watch her wrestling, but it's not that kind of excitement that she brings. If that makes sense, like if you pitted one against the other and say who's going to sell more merch, there would be a clear gap between the two. So again, I don't think I've got a great deal to say about this. Again, I had to rely on notes. Even the notes make it sound boring. Like there's 2 top moments and takeaways from Bleacher Report. One says Cole called Rhea Ripley a star during her entrance, simply reiterating something everybody with eyes and a feel for aura already knew. She carries herself like one, and she knows she is, and the fans treat her accordingly. So that's not even about the match. The top moments and the takeaways aren't even about the match. They're just about the wrestlers. And then the second one says, Stark was great here in a first individual opportunity to win a title, and the biggest match of a young career. So again, that's just stating a point. So
Yeah.
basically, what Bleacher Report are saying there is there's no top moments or takeaways for that match at all. So,
well, what I got from that match, there was a lot of shouting. Like both. I'm not familiar with. Is her name Zoe Starks? I'm not.
Yeah.
Is that her name?
Yeah.
She's fairly like new. She hasn't had a big push or anything, so you'd be like excused if you didn't know her at all. I only know her from watching NXT, really.
Yeah, but what I got from it, like the start of the match, especially, she had a strong start. Starks did, but it was mostly just both of them shouting at each other more than anything. There was no wrestling going on. Well, there was obviously, but it was more shouting and just trying to get the better of each other. Who's louder? It's like, I'm not interested in this. I want to see some wrestling. You know what I mean? But that's what I got from it anyway. But yeah,
again,
wasn't
like,
great.
I think what the thing is, we've even done it. We've even done it without even thinking about it. We've not really mentioned the match at all. We've just spoke about the two wrestlers. Like, we haven't mentioned anything in the match. So yeah, less time we spend on that, the better. And then we go to obviously the main event. This is where it got interesting. Obviously, with War Games, I think again, normally when you've got a pay-per-view, your main event's going to be your main event, and that's it. Like, and then the rest of the matches aren't main event. But when you've got something like War Games, like both matches in essence are main events. I'm just as excited. Well, I certainly was for this pay-per-view. I was just excited for the women's War Games than I was the men's, because I'm watching it for stipulation more than
the carnage.
The mayhem, like the NXT sort of absolute classic matches. They're some of the best that I've seen in the modern era. The NXT War Games. I still think the main roster War Games aren't like fair in comparison to some of those NXT ones, because they were just complete and utter perfection. You'd watch them in like just complete awe. You'd sit there.
I need to go back and watch these.
You do, like,
you talk about these, so you talk about them in high spirits. I need to watch them.
They were absolutely unbelievable. But certainly, like, you look at those matches and you look at the Ciampa and I can't think of his name, Johnny Gargano matches, and you look at those like two things as a whole, and you say that's probably two of the best things in the modern era of wrestling that any brand's ever done, because they were just so kind of like, you just literally sat there in awe watching it, and you go, oh my god. You was watching them and going, yeah, this is the reason I still watch wrestling. I don't know what it is. NXT just seem to do that for me. They seem to be, I think it's mental. I think their storytelling and their creative and their whole matches are much better than the main roster is. Like, I don't see why people don't watch NXT more, because it's actually fun. Like, even their weekly shows, because it's shorter, it's more concise. The matches are shorter. You're not having loads of time to fill in matches where you just have to go, oh, let's duplex him. Oh yeah, let's do that. Oh, let's come off the ropes. Let's jump off the top rope. Let's do this really slowly. Let's have like 10 submissions. Because they have like 2 hours to fill, they're able to just put like little short matches and little good segments in. But again, that's probably something for another video to speak about that. But yeah, main event. So when you look at the talent that's in this match, it was just unreal. Like,
it was going to be good. We all knew it was going to be good. There's no doubt about it.
The two teams, like, when you actually just sit down and look at that match, you go, my lord, like, the wrestlers in this just, so I'll let you both speak about whichever order you would like to go in, about your takeaways from the match.
Again, I thought it was a good main event. Obviously, it was great to see Randy Orton return, and they did a little tease, didn't they, of, oh, he might not be available or not, what's going to happen here. And that's exactly how they did it, by the way. And he was the last person to come out, but there was a bit of silence, wasn't there? Oh, he's not there, what's going on? And then suddenly the potential cash-in happened, Damian Priest, who was in the match, but they had Rhea Ripley with the briefcase. Coming out, and then suddenly here he comes. Big old Randall Keith is here, and he looks bigger than ever. He's a jacked bloke now, isn't he?
Yeah,
he is indeed.
I thought that cash-in was really weird because I had to kind of. It's weird because you never normally see a cash-in like at a big event, especially not in like a War Games match because there's like 6 people on each.
Yeah,
side.
that's what I was thinking. It doesn't really make sense. But
so when it was going on, I had to think like, who's he actually cashing in against? Obviously, there was like a champion in there, but for a second you were like, what? Like, how can they cash in now? Like, what's going on? So you had to, and then it was commentary, and then like, oh yeah, he's cashing in now against, and you went, oh okay, that makes sense now. I thought that was really weird. I think they could have just left that segment out completely, because if you're going to do a cash in, you've got to either cash it in or have someone like come in and just poleaxe the person that's cashing it in. So, and neither of those things happened. So it's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, it was something that they had to do to make,
they had
Randy
to do
Orton returning and everything. Like, but they could have done a bit. They could have done it.
They should have just made. I think they should have just let Randy Orton come back normally, like just return him normally. You know what I mean?
If they wanted to do something like, gimmicky or to make it a little bit more special, you could have just like turned the lights off, couldn't you? And then have the commentary go, oh, what's going on here?
Have him with his old theme song. Not the Voices, obviously. The one before that.
Yeah, Burning My Light. He doesn't like that. Randy,
does he not?
I think he said in an interview once he didn't like that theme song, which is a shame.
That's
I think it's the better one.
I think it's a banger. Yeah, it's a banger.
So yeah, that was the but we was mentioning it again. We were speaking before this, and when he actually came out, even though we knew like what was going to happen, like even though we knew it was going to come out, it was still like a hair standing up on the back of your neck sort of moment because like the whole place, like I think he's the one wrestler or one of the only wrestlers that could return 100 times and he'd still get the same reaction from the crowd. I don't think there's many others. Like CM Punk's probably one of them. Like there's probably a couple of others where they could return and return and return, and they'd still get that same sort of like massive reaction. But yeah, obviously, like you mentioned, he came back, massive version of himself. Like I don't know what he's been eating for his breakfast these days. Probably just stones by the look of it. But
Weetabix.
Weetabix mixed with stones, mixed with just like grass from the outside, mixed with just like soil from the earth, and that's created this like massive Randy version of Randy Orton. But yeah, it almost does seem like with him being, because he's been out for like quite a while, and because of the wrestler he is, it just almost when he comes back each time, because obviously I don't think anybody's returned this many times ever, but it kind of does seem like almost like a new wrestler that we haven't seen before. And I think they're going to be able to create so many good storylines with him, because I think there's so many like wrestlers since he's been gone that have kind of stepped it up, and that they're going to have so many opportunities to put him in some really good matches. Like I'm thinking now just off the top of my head of like Gunther and him would be absolutely amazing. Like that would be fantastic.
That's a good shout.
Like,
that's a good shout.
I even think I would go as far as saying like, yeah, put him against Roman, like, because again, that's a really good match.
I think that could have been before he got injured. I think that was going to be the plans a few months down the line, but obviously everything happened. And
I think that's the potential. Like for, I think Gunther and Randy Orton. I think that's potential for like a WrestleMania match, like one of the matches before the main event, like that really sets up the main event. Because I know we were speaking about with. Even if you go over to the AEW side of things, like MJF, Randy Orton, and Gunther. Randy Orton, what I'm on about is because I was talking about him. MJF, Roman Reigns, and Gunther, all three of those, you've got to do something really special to kind of dethrone them for the level of time that they've been champions. And I think Randy Orton is that draw that could dethrone, probably not Roman Reigns. I don't think that's right. But probably Gunther, I would go and say that would be, for me, a good way to take the title from him. And I also, to go back a little bit as well, I did see that the reason why that this is quite a cool thing, that Gunther's getting close to the time that Miz was IC champion as well. They're like 30 some days apart now, I think. So he'll actually to like beat Miz in terms of how long he held the title for.
I think it's the Honky Tonk Man who had the longest IC title reign, and I think, has he already eclipsed that? I can't remember.
Yeah, I thought Gunther already.
Yeah, I had a feeling
got the record.
Longest IC title, longest reigning IC champion.
Someone let us know in the comments if anyone knows that.
I think he is.
Oh, no,
I think
it's here. So Days is IC champ. Gunther's on 531, and Miz is on 592. And it said, could the Miz dethrone Gunther at Survivor Series to stop him from overtaking his combined?
Combined. There you go.
Right.
Okay, there's where it got me there. So combined, because as soon as I said that, I went, I don't think that's right. I need to check my facts here. So combined. We'll edit that bit out. We're not live or anything. We'll quickly skip past that because that's one for the blooper reel. So I think we have just going through. Oh yeah, so they've Bleacher Report have also. I'm the one that wrote all this stuff on Bleacher Report because they actually put that they said about Dusty Rhodes creating more games, that he never lost the match, and tonight Cody Rhodes, first time in his career. And then also, this is interesting. How about this then? So they said he never lost the match, and Cole also said he added Cody also created an event in this city, a reference to the industry in All In for All Elite Wrestling 2019. So Vince is going to smack his bottom when he hears about that. Mentioning AEW is a big no-no.
Yes. Let's hope Triple H has still locked the door to stop him from returning.
They'll be sticking him in that cage later this evening, in that wall cage, and just getting Bianca Belair to come in and whip with her hair until he lets out that blood-curdling scream as well. So I think we have kind of. So I don't know what this is on. So there's one note that's quite interesting. It says Rhodes cowbell. It just feels appropriate.
Oh yeah, and he paid homage to Dusty with the.
Lee Meadows commented on this, by the way. If you can find that comment. Obviously, I'm not a mod, so I can't put the comment up.
Yeah, give us a sec. I did see that.
Said also a real cool moment with Cody using the cowbell. This is it.
There you go. Yeah, no, it was. I thought so. I always love respectful things like paying homage to legends. Who doesn't love that, right? Like we all love that. So yeah.
Yeah, and there was that moment, and also I wanted to there was that moment as well where Randy Orton came out, and all 5 wrestlers were just stood there watching him. Like they'd just seen some Greek god, or they'd all seen this massive bear that was running towards them. And that's the fear that Randy Orton puts in you, though, isn't it?
Well, he comes out of nowhere, right?
Yeah,
he comes out of nowhere.
It's like Undertaker, isn't it? Undertaker could be 160 years old, and he would still be menacing, and he would still think, right, he's coming to kill me here. Randy Orton's a bit the same,
especially after returning after all this time, and
Yeah, I think Randy Orton could have one broken leg, a broken rib, a broken arm, and yet somehow you'd still be frightened if he was walking towards you.
Well, a lot of people did think he was going to turn on Cody or one of the team members at the end. like he usually does, like that's classical. But
no, he
didn't
just
happen.
Just went into the crowd and did something else, didn't he?
It was actually nice to see. I thought it was nice to see Cody and Randy together again. I'm gonna chuck a little picture up on screen.
Nice to see what Randy did at the end to the poor member of the crowd. I thought you meant that.
What you put in the chat? That wasn't that event. No,
that's way back when.
Yeah. I've seen that before.
Because as soon as you said that, I said that, and you said, "Oh, yeah, that was really good." And I was like,
"Oh no, sorry, I didn't even hear you say it. Like it must be the delay or something." I don't know. Sorry.
Not that kind of Randy, Sam. Come on now.
It's just Randy Orton doing Randy Orton things, isn't it? Like I said earlier. So yeah, we then obviously go to the pay-per-view could have they could have done nothing at all in the pay-per-view, but then played the last minute and a half, and it would still been amazing because that was like even though obviously I'll allude to it this morning, I hadn't watched the pay-per-view, and the person sat next to me, Carl, stayed up to watch it, and the first message I got this morning was, "He's back." And I'm like, well, thanks, Carl. That's just ruined the whole thing for me.
Sorry, I was so excited, Sam. Like, I just thought like you.
I'm not.
I mean?
No, I'm really not fussed.
So
I wanted to play the.
Sorry.
But
I guess that you would have seen it on Instagram anyway. That was my thinking behind it. I was like, he's going to see it as soon as he wakes up. It's going to be everywhere.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So I was like,
I just had to do my little violin moment, so everybody felt sorry for me too. But no, I really wasn't bothered because I'd rather know that. Yes, it ruined the element of surprise at the end, but it's so big that it doesn't really matter that you already know. Like it's still the same. Like, I knew it was happening. Like, at the end of the pay-per-view, I knew it was happening, but you still go, "My God!" Like,
yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't think it was happening. Like as soon as I saw the little credits, I was like, "Nah." I was like, "As if what the."
It had to be though, didn't it? Because if they were going to bring him back, if we look at it this way, if they didn't bring him back at a Chicago pay-per-view, yes, it would have still been amazing, but it would have failed in comparison to bringing him back for that Chicago pay-per-view. Like it was the perfect opportunity. Like
that was it. If it wasn't last night, it wasn't going to be.
No,
any
it
other
wasn't
time,
going to happen. Like, it wasn't going to happen. He wouldn't have wrestled again.
It wasn't going to be Royal Rumble.
Yeah. No, because it would have, if it was Royal Rumble, it would have ruined the element of surprise. Because as we know, like when it comes to a Royal Rumble, we can't have any surprise entrances anymore because the internet just ruins it. Like someone leaks it, like back in the day when a Royal Rumble used to happen, like the surprise entrances used to be like, "Oh my God, I didn't know that." But now it's like, "Oh, we've got 5 entrants left. We've seen 2 of the people that we know is going to return. Oh, it must be this person coming in the next 5." So it's like there's not that excitement anymore. It kind of just, it just is what it is. Like it's still obviously the big draw pay-per-view, but it's just not the same as it used to be. But again, we could say that about most things now.
It was good when Edge made that return though in 2020.
Yeah.
We heard about it potentially happening, but it still happened, and we still.
It's again it's one of those moments like last night. Like obviously I knew it was going to happen, but it still wasn't like it was still. Oh my God! Like it's actually happened.
When it actually happens, it's like, oh wow.
But also,
the internet was actually right.
It made me think, kind of playing devil's advocate in this situation. It made me think, do you really think if the situation was as bad as it was made out in AEW, that WWE would have risked having him back? What's your response to that? I don't think, I think there's something that we're not being told about that whole AEW CM Punk thing.
Yeah, I don't know, but I heard that the pop from last night made Tony Khan fear for his life.
Yeah. He had to put the powder away just a minute, and then for just a minute.
He's probably like sat in his chair replaying that moment in his head, like, "Oh my God, it's happening again! It's happening again!" But that's what he'll also be saying to the ratings from last night and his ratings for the next 4 weeks of Dynamite. So it makes me wonder, like, do we know the whole situation of why CM Punk did what he did? Like, I'm not excusing what CM Punk did, like if that's true, because obviously we do know it's true. He did what he did, but it's almost like AEW's leaving something out on purpose, because I don't think
we don't know to what extent it was, right? Like we don't know the ins. We weren't there, like obviously. So
I don't know.
it's kind of hard.
I don't know if it was a little tickle or whether it was a full blown like attack. Like it makes me wonder, because I don't.
But one thing we do know is that a lot of people have a problem with CM Punk. That is one thing we do know. So,
see, this is what I don't get. Like, obviously, when I was at All in London, I didn't get it. Like, for me, CM Punk is like one of the best wrestlers in the modern era of wrestling, and I didn't get, like, because that was one of the things that I was like really pleased at All In that he had a match, because I was like, oh, I've always wanted to see like him come in, like just his theme song hitting and him coming in. And at All In, when he came out, literally everyone was like, oh, CM Punk, like, and I sat there like, why? Like, what has he ever done like to deserve that? Like, he's given his all to like wrestling, and like he's had some amazing matches. His like promo work, some of the best like ever promo work. That 2011 Money in the Bank like segment with him and Cena was like some of the best storytelling in wrestling, period. So I don't get why people don't like him, but obviously I get why people don't like him potentially now because of the whole AEW thing. So yeah, I don't get the kind of disrespect besides this whole AEW thing that he gets. I've got no idea why. I try and rack my brains to think, why would people dislike him? He's done nothing but good for wrestling.
I think it's the whole thing that happened, the whole brawl that happened and everything. And but look, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully another situation like that won't happen with him in WWE. I think, you know, Tony Khan was a bit inexperienced in dealing with like altercations like that. So hopefully with some experienced heads at the helm at WWE, they can keep old Phil Brooks a little bit quiet. But I am hopefully looking forward to seeing hopefully it'll be a good return, because it's CM Punk and it was amazing seeing him being back.
And again, like you mentioned about Randy Orton, he was massively stacked in this one as well. Like he looked like I was talking about him being like a sort of middle of the road body type, but he's gone from that to like massive, like overnight.
Well, like I said, it looks like when superstars come back from injury, they look better. Like, I don't understand that. Like,
yeah,
it must be the time away from the ring. They get that chance to, you know, actually recover.
Yeah,
not overwork themselves, because that's what they seem to be doing. Like, they're, you know, taping.
I suppose the explanation might be that you've got more time when you're off. You've got more time to actually like spend in the gym. Like you can go 2 or 3 times a day because you're doing nothing else. Whereas when you're wrestling, most of the time you're in shows, so you've got to like fit in gym workouts really quickly. But obviously, we was alluding to kind of what else. Like you can't have someone coming in like on return and being really skinny, because no one's going to fear him. Whereas when Randy Orton came out and when CM Punk came out, the wrestler was like, "Oh my god, here we go! Like we've got like some serious work to do now to stay on these cards. Like we've got to work hard, and we have done before, because we've got not just one but 2 people coming in that could take our spots in a heartbeat." So I'm just going to catch up with some of the comments actually. So Hope Punk aligns with LA Knight. That would be cool. Top heels are being built in WWE. Yeah, see, the thing is with the CM Punk, it's a hard one, because they could pose him as a heel, but everybody likes him, so he's already a face. So it's really hard to make him into a heel.
That's the thing with the return. It's like everyone's going to love it. Like everyone's loving him. So they have to bring him on as a face right now. But Punk's got it. We all know Punk's got it in him to, you know, flip like that. Heel turn. I can see it. Like, I can see CM Punk having a good heel run, but I'm not sure how soon. Like, I don't think it'll be anytime soon. Like we said, they love him. So, yeah.
See, I don't think Damian Priest is made for main events. I think he's pretty someone that filters between mid card and kind of upper. I don't think he's main event like champion standard. Not to say he's bad at all, but I just don't think he has that like champion draw. Because as a champion, you can be an amazing wrestler, but if you don't have the excitement and the people really invested in you, you could be the best wrestler in the world, but you're not going to be a champion. And so I think it's a little bit like that with him. Like, he's kind of a person that's liked, but not liked massively. I can't really comment on that because I prefer John Moxley to Seth Rollins, who's playing second fiddle to Roman Reigns. I don't think that's a bit harsh. Seth's his own like entity. Like, I would say he is as popular as Roman Reigns. Yes, he's not the champion. Yes, he's not the champion like Roman is. But I still think every time he comes out, he's still got that like main event pop. Like,
I like Seth.
He's still got that like main event draw. Like, he always like his music. Like, his music for one is like something that just excites everyone.
Hatsy. So are we going to talk about that? I think we should, right?
Yeah.
Like,
okay, I've caught up with the comments now. So, what I was going to pose to
this I didn't see. I don't know if that was.
You didn't see this? Oh, okay.
So, basically, the question I was going to ask you to kind of finish this all off, I think it's a good place to end, is CM Punk. What do you think? What would you like? So there's two parts to this question. What would you like for WWE to do in your dream case scenario? What matches would you put him in? What feuds would you put him in? And then on the other side, what do you think WWE will actually do? So I'm going to go to Kyle first. What would you like them to do? And what do you think they will do?
Well, my answer is the same for both. I would like them to have a little rivalry with Seth and CM Punk, obviously. And that's what I think they will do. I think they will. They have to, right? Like, the beef they've got, it makes sense. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. What do you think?
Yeah, that could be a WrestleMania match. That could be.
For sure. Like, that's
Definitely.
one that certainly gets you excited for. That's the main event type match without it being for a title. Like, yeah, obviously it could be for a title. You don't know what's going to happen between now and Mania. But even if it's not for a title, that still has the same that still has the same draw, I think. I think that could be, because you don't tend to have main events that aren't for titles anyway. But you would justify that to be a main event of one of the nights of Mania without it being for a title. Posh, what are you saying about what you would like to see and what you think's going to happen?
I think Punk and Seth is the obvious one. I think what they said there with Michael Cole's holding Seth back. I know there's been talent unhappy about his Punk's move, but there's some saying, okay, Seth's working this. He's trying to, get
Kayfabe's alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Kayfabe is back.
Yeah. Working them into a shoot, brother. Yeah. Do you think they'll do? I don't know if they'll do it before Mania, because that's when Roman will be losing the title. But do you think they'll do Punk and Roman at some point?
Again, I was alluding to this in terms of we're kind of answering our question from a couple of weeks ago that we've got to do something really special to kind of dethrone Roman. And I'm going to put a thing to you now. If WWE steal this idea from me, then we know that they're watching these videos.
Sky Sports watch our videos on Gooner Gathering, so it's you never know.
So main event of either night of WrestleMania. Hear me out. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins for Roman Reigns' title. Now that is something I would want to see. Like that is something that would seriously excite me. That is an unbelievable triple threat. Like let's even throw in there. Let's have that triple threat and let's have like an added stipulation in it, like a street fight or a last man standing, or like let's just do something absolutely wild.
So balls to the wall, everything, like
So if WWE steal this now, I want a cut of the money that they make from that main event, because I said it. How far are we out of Mania? Like November, January, February, March, April. Like 5 months away. Like so they need to do one of two things. They either need to put me in the cut of what they make from that match, or they need to give me a couple of months contract as the writer for WWE, because then I can get some money and I'll just kind of retire after that, after doing a couple of months there. So yeah, the two things that's going to
looking at good lawyers on the.
So now we got a comment here, Sam. Christian is the best heel in pro wrestling right now, and I actually agree with him. But what do you think about that? I actually agree with him. I actually do.
I think that's a big statement, because I think you could put quite a few. It depends what you determine as a heel, I suppose. You've got quite a few that you could say, because you could say to some aspect that MJF is still a heel, even though he's kind of on the borderline between one or the other. Like he's sort of
the way he acted in that press conference the other night.
Yeah,
that's not heel behavior.
No. He started. He started as a heel massively, and then he became title holder and carried on for a heel for a little bit, but then he kind of went a little bit soft and kind of dropped his act, and now he's making like soppy posts on Instagram. And like all in, he was like, when I was in school, everybody told me that I couldn't be a wrestler. Everybody told that I wouldn't amount to everything, and here I am. So like, that's not something that a heel would say. A heel would go into the ring and say, somebody told me that I couldn't be a wrestler, so I told them to use YouTube friendly language, go away. But that's what a heel wouldn't say that. So I do get what you're saying, but I do think I think you could make, I think that's that's an opinion. I think when you say someone's the best heel or someone's the best wrestler at the minute, it's kind of an opinion most of the time.
Yeah, of course. It always is. Like, it's not most of the time. It always is an opinion. I agree.
I think you would have to sit down and kind of, look at all the promotions and then say, right, which ones are heels, which ones are faces. Like, you could spend days on that. So I'm just going to catch up with like a few of these comments before we kind of wrap up.
Drew was storming out. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Oh, really?
That might be a bit more legit, maybe.
Yeah,
could have been.
It's I suppose most people will be storming out because they're, like I said earlier, they'll be thinking, so we've got two massive returns, so that means I'm going to have to up my game, like not once but doubly. And
it's Raya and Ramsdale all over again.
even if I step it up, those two people coming in are that talented. I haven't got that much amount of raw talent, so I'm going to have to do something like massive to stay relevant. So I imagine everybody felt like storming out. We mentioned this earlier. I think we mentioned this earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
We do think that could also
very good shout.
Happen. To be honest, I'm not going to claim to know that I know either of those.
Well, Jacob Fatu.
I've heard of Jacob Fatu.
Related to, he's part of the Samoan.
Yeah.
I don't want more members of the bloodline, please.
Is he in NWA?
Wrestler,
He's somewhere like that, isn't he?
I think he is related to Roman. And,
I think he's in like the NWA or something like that. One of those promotions.
Yeah. MLW.
JCW. MLW, it could be, yeah. Could be.
See, this is I've not been excited for a film like this in a very long time. Like, I think this film is going to be next level when it comes out. I believe it comes out in December at some stage. Yeah, you need to all get on the Patreon and get into that, because if so, we might have to do a watch along of that film somehow in a completely legal route to watch it while it's still on at the cinema. Yeah, obviously MJF in Iron Claw, yes. Yes.
Josh Alexander. Nah, I haven't heard of him.
It
I'll check him out though.
Every day's a school day. I'm going to have to go and check out these people.
I've heard of that name.
When we come off here. So I think we've been going for long enough. Because after my weekend, I'm ready to literally just do nothing at all and just lay there like a stick, watch some Netflix, and just go to sleep. Else I'm going to be written off for the next week. Don't drink, kids. And certainly don't drink AU vodka, because that stuff's lethal. To anyone that hasn't had it before, it's like drinking juice. You can't taste the alcohol in it at all. I hadn't drunk it really before Friday evening, and there's a certain can of it that's obviously pre-mixed, and it's Cherryade, and it literally does taste like Cherryade. If you gave me Cherryade and this AU vodka version, I don't think you'd tell the difference. So again, that's deadly. And then we was very kindly handed a massive, great big bottle of AU vodka to share between the DJs. And I remember picking up the bottle, making everyone a drink, making some people that had come to support in the crowd a drink, standing there with that bottle of vodka and thinking, it still feels full. And then it kind of hit me and I went, oh, Lord, this is not ending well.
I'll stick to Strongbow, thanks. But
my advice would be to do that as well.
Strongbow, ooh, that's a randy. Dark fruits. Oh, that makes sense. I thought you meant the standard Strongbow. I was like, how do you do
that? That's like drinking bleach.
Yeah.
It's and again that's also just in case people are out there, do not drink bleach. But you sit there and you think, oh well, it doesn't taste like much. So as the night went on, I started making the drinks a little bit stronger for everyone, including myself. And then a few hours later, you stand there and you go, we have a problem here.
Oh my God.
We have a set coming up in a half an hour, I think, till my set. Yes, it got rid of the nerves, but when I tried to, luckily someone was next to me, because so the headphone, to plug my headphones in, I was trying to actually plug the headphones in the set of decks, and somebody actually had to assist me in doing that. So I thought, this is not going to be my finest work. So other than that, it was really good. So I'm going to, we have seen all the comments, but I think it's time we wrap this up. So I hope you've enjoyed watching. Obviously, as always, if you've watched this and you haven't subscribed by now, I don't know what on earth that we need to do to make you subscribe, because I physically can't come over there, grab your mouse, your phone, whatever you're watching us on, and click that subscribe. Unfortunately, you have to do that. So if you haven't already, if you could do that, please, it would help us out.
You've just given me an idea on how we can get 250 subscribers on Gooner Gathering.
What, go on everyone's house?
Myself and Lee are going to come round people's houses and
peer through the window.
Time.
Peer through the window, knock and go, housekeeping,
Yeah.
and then just come in and click subscribe. So yeah, obviously, I think this is just going to be the in-running joke on this channel. I'm always going to say I'm going to get around to doing this Will Ospreay video, and you'll have a history of Will Ospreay. And I think this is going to be like for years to come, when hopefully we're still doing this channel. That's going to be the running joke, because I hope you see the history of Will Ospreay. But at this point, I've said it that many times, I don't know if I believe it anymore. So hopefully I will find the time to sit down and do that. Things are a little bit nuts at the minute. Yeah, I should do this. What I should do is I should put on a pay-per-view, and then when the matches get to like the middle section where I don't really be bothered, I could just have that in the background and I could write the script. You see, I've just again, hopefully it'll happen. It might.
See, I find it hard to write a script when I'm doing something. I have to be focused on just the script I do. Like it's so hard to do a script and do something at the same time. For me.
Yeah, so I'll stop talking random rubbish now. Thank you for coming on. Is there anything that you would like to promote? Your Twitter, anything like that? But I will say that every time I've said my Twitter on any YouTube channel, whether that be Arsenal related, wrestling related, anything like that, I don't think I've ever had a single person follow me because I've said my Twitter. I don't know about you, Posh, but Posh is a little bit different. He's a little bit like Twitter royalty. If you don't, I know obviously you're not. If you're not, well, he's Twitter royalty for me. Is the only reason I go on Twitter, Carl, because even as a as a Man United fan,
United.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You won, by the way.
You need to follow Posh on Twitter because his rants are just he goes from like this calm and collected individual to like this hot-headed, like I'm gonna kill Kai Havertz.
I'm not that much of a hothead on Twitter, am I?
Yeah, you're very controversial on Twitter. You say some things that other people wouldn't want to tweet.
The most controversial one I tweeted was saying "Spot the difference, Impossible Edition," and it's 2 pictures of Mikel Arteta and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That was our when we lost 2-1. That's the most controversial tweet I've done, actually. And Lee Meadows was he wasn't happy with me when I did that.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's a really funny dynamic because when Arsenal lose, I don't now get that annoyed as I did because I know there's going to be like an exceptional tweet waiting as soon as I open up Twitter.
Brilliant. Pressure's on now.
I'm right. The first thing that I'm going to do now, I'm sure it's like AFTV when they get money because Arsenal lose. Posh has made that thing like everybody's going to come over to his Twitter when Arsenal lose.
I wish I could get money over it.
I think it's
like that, just without the money. Sadly,
I think it's worth it. I think we should set up a GoFundMe, and every time somebody likes a tweet, somehow we'll turn the likes of the tweet into money into a GoFundMe account.
Yeah, if Elon Musk is watching, there you go. That's another idea.
Yeah.
And if you want to see all those tweets, you can follow me on Twitter at PoshBertie. My Instagram is at BertieWanderless, and you can check me out on another YouTube channel, which is Gooner Gathering.
See, I'm not going to say that I have the link to the channel or the name or anything because I haven't. I should have thought about that and set it up. I'll set it up for next time. So yeah, obviously, Gooner Gathering. Actually, what I'll do is I'll bring up Lee's comment, a random comment, and that will show you obviously where to go over to drop and subscribe. It's not they always say, and because obviously I'm part of that as well, always say that you don't have to be an Arsenal fan to watch. Although it's not advised to support Tottenham because it will be a lifetime full of pain. Even if you want to come over and be in the comments and tell us something about Arsenal, if you want to diss Arsenal, we will still show that comment and we will still highly tell you wrong. But yeah, you don't have to be an Arsenal fan to follow it. It's basically what I'm saying. Go check it out. Because yeah, like this channel, you'll get many wrestling references chucked in there. That's kind of an added extra of Gooner Gathering that's not on the description. So yeah, that's enough for me. Kyle, where can they find you? / what have you got in the pipeline? What have you got in the pipeline seems to be like my question that I can ask you every single time at the end of a video.
Yeah, well, you see, I got a few ideas, but I'm going to keep them quiet for now. Just because I'm not sure what to bring out next. If anyone's got any shouts of what you would like to see, leave them in the comments. Check out the Patreon if you want to join us for some watch-alongs. Obviously, join the community. And that's about it, I think. I think we've covered everything.
Cool. If you want to find me, I'm not going to give you my Twitter because nobody ever follows me on Twitter, so it's pointless even saying it. So it's also pointless following me on there because I only retweet Posh Bertie's tweets and the occasional like Arsenal women's tweet. Like that's all my feed is made up of. So you'll find me on Instagram at Sam Wilson AFC. That's where you'll find all my stuff. As I've alluded to, my event. If you want to go and check that stuff out, Dark Knight's events on Instagram, you can see what we got up to the other evening. The little story about AU Vodka was just an added extra. That's not on there. That's an exclusive for this channel. So yeah, we're coming up to an hour and a half, which I didn't think we'd make, but we have.
A good little run. It was nice to meet you, Posh.
Nice to meet you too, sir.
I'm sure we will have much more with Posh coming up. Hopefully, Lee was going to join us. But he has not had another accident, you'll be pleased to know, on an e-scooter. Or I can just, what I can picture now is Lee on like a little one of them tricycles and falling off that. That's just a picture. But it was an e-scooter, unfortunately. And I've also got a picture.
I could picture him like American Badass Undertaker, you know, with Limp Bizkit below out on his motorbike, you know.
Here's
rolling.
Statement to end the to show. I think it would be great if we could get a video with Lee after we've obviously got this today, with Lee in a mask. But in one of those, like, do you know those cars that was like the plastic cars that had the red roof and the wheels like they had as a child? So if we put Lee in a mask in one of those cars and having coming down like the wrestling ring, making a return like CM Punk did and Randy Orton did, I think that is, I'm going to make that happen somehow. I'm not sure how. But
it sounds like something he'd do, but
yeah. We've got to do that, and that's how. Because I said to Lee, I said we'll somehow make a crossover between this channel and Gooner Gathering. And I think that's how we do it. I think that's the video that we've got to have. Okay, I'll leave you that one. Right. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I can see that we've had anywhere between like 5 and
sorry, that was the last one.
We've anywhere between like 5 and 2 people watching, which is really pleasing because when we started this a few weeks ago and we did our first sort of live stream where we watched Crown Jewel, not that it matters, again, we do this because we enjoy it, but we had sort of like there was one person I think that watched us live. I think that could have been Lee and Posh and Jordan potentially. So there was a handful of people that obviously we knew that were watching, but obviously we're doing something right because more of you are coming in and watching it when we're live as well.
So everything comes in good time, you know.
It does. So appreciate everyone that's watching. I'm going to stop talking now, give myself a rest, and like I say, just lay there and do nothing. So yeah, good night, everyone.
See you when I'm looking at you.